A natural response to the need of the moment. And that's what true knowledge is. It's not something you stored away and brought it out. Now, it may mean if you have good experience, that experience will be used in that moment.
Right.
But it's not a reaction. It's not an automatic. It's not a habit. It's fresh, alive.
All right. But there is also this thing about how we are trained to take decisions. You know, one is decision making, but one we are trained.
Yes.
And that's when somewhere somebody else's baggage, whether it's through a book or experience, comes into you.
Exactly. And so now there are good guidelines. You could listen to that, but as you were saying before, you have to experience it. And once you experience, then you understand that it is so. And I think another thing we've seen over the years, when I was first introduced to meditation almost 40 years ago, it was, meditation, that's, little cultish. Now, at the Body, Mind, Spirit convention in London, there were about 20 different versions of meditation. A recognition of a need. And yoga, it's taught in many different ways. How can you come to stillness? How can you be in a better position to decide?
So there is a strong thread of discipline that I sense over here.
Yes, exactly.
And then can we use discipline for the gut also?
Well, the discipline is to let go of our attachments, to free ourselves. So you could look at, as you were saying in the past, in the West, I need to know this and this and this. There's a ladder you need to know. Another approach is, you've got it all. You are like the sun, always shining. And the only thing that gets in the way are clouds that cover over. And the task of philosophy and discipline is remove the clouds to reveal what's there. The sun that's always shining.
Right, which is akin to the concept of solar governance, which we talk about, to govern, not with an agenda, but to govern, because to govern is the way to be, and the clouds will then move away.
And the thing that, coming back to my role in life and teaching, early on when I was in Brussels, I was asked if I would be a tutor of philosophy, you see. And I remember, again, these moments of just sitting there, waiting for them to come in and say, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for, or what one was built for. And I've been doing that since that.
Okay.
And you have to have an attitude of, you're not there lecturing, filling up the minds of people with information. You're using the word educare, draw forth. So what you're doing is drawing forth from the person what they know.
And learning in the process.
Exactly.
Learning yourself in the process.
Exactly right. In fact, the model we have is learning and teaching. And so
true.
The person in front of you is your teacher. So you can see what happens when you assume that attitude. The ego gets smaller. The ego is the covering of the clouds.
Right.
The ego is what creates, a special creation. We each have our own creation.
Right.
Which is why it's so difficult to agree, because I see things differently than you do.
True. And the ego feeds on fear. Actually, you have to give it the diet of faith, because that really doesn't.
Yes.
Fear is the only thing which can be replaced by faith.
Well, in the Gita it says our worst enemy is desire. You see, this desire is something that says, I lack something.
Yeah.
You only have desire when you lack something. And then that propels you into action.
And when you lack something, you can't share. If you can't share, you can never give.
Oh,
I want to
good.
come to sharing, Paul.
Yes.
And you've started a charity which is based on actually dissemination of Sanskrit as a language. And wonderful to see that this mother of all languages is being so looked up to across the world.
Increasingly so. And this school that was founded from the people from this philosophy school called St. James in London, from the very first, the founder said, Sanskrit will be the foundation of the teaching of language. So from 4.5 years old upwards, until they're 11 or 12, the children are given Sanskrit,
Okay.
studied, and then later on, optionally, they can take exams leading on to university.
So you're saying it's more than a language?
Well, it's the foundation of language, and when you look at it and study it, you realize that the classical languages in the West of Greek and Latin come from it. The subsequent languages, German, English, French, came from it. So why not go back to the source, the perfectly formed language, Sanskrit, that's what it means, perfectly formed. The system of grammar by Panini is unparalleled. So that's one aspect of the value of it. The other, and that is what it opens up the whole spiritual tradition, the Shruti, the Smriti, the Upanishads, the Gita. Just like in the West, the study of Greek and Latin open up the Homer, the Iliad, the Odyssey. So you get, with the language, you get the culture. So you see, it's so important to understand your language, your own language better, plus you are now, it opens up another aspect.
So have you seen transformation in people or changes in people because of going this way?
Yes, in fact my two daughters studied it.
Okay, lovely.
They studied it from 4.5. They went to this school, were introduced to meditation when they were 10. It's voluntarily. And then my daughter, the oldest one, they both took it up through A level. Both scored the top grades in that. The oldest one decided, she always was very good at writing and language. She wanted to go to Oxford, Oxford University, and applied for to study English.
Okay.
Now, that's a very difficult
Yes.
piece. But she interviewed, they saw Sanskrit, and Sanskrit is held in high esteem. And she received the place. She just graduated with first-class honors.
Okay.
And it showed that Sanskrit is held in high esteem in the university level, but also that it gave her this real foundation for language. My other daughter is also studying English. She has more of an artistic side, but she's combining the ability to communicate with the artistic side. She's still at university. But I would say one thing about this, in its practical aspect, we had a meeting with the Indian High Commissioner. He attended St. James School's speech competition, where all the classes from 4.5 up recite Upanishads, Rig Veda, Gita as a class, as a group. And we had a discussion about why there weren't so many people in India, children studying it. And they said, well, a lot of these young people want practical education that can get them jobs, etc. Very recently, there was a survey of the CEOs of top English companies, the FTSE 100, asking, what was your degree, what was your education? It was English, language. They learned to communicate. It's very practical. So, once you get past the ideas about it and begin to appreciate the value of language, I think that's another impulse that people will start to study.
These are silos, very true. There are silos in our head created by the system of education to say science is not about art,
Yes.
Language is not about commerce.
Yes.
So, and commerce has nothing to do with creativity.
That's right.
So I think this whole...
Exactly. And another indication I had was the World Sanskrit Book Fair
Okay.
in 2011 in Bangalore.
Okay.
First one they ran. I, at that time, had been working in this school, St. James, in publications, the textbooks that the teachers wrote. And over 20 years, some textbooks on Sanskrit were written. So I took a group of 300 textbooks. I took a stand at this Bangalore book fair, and I laid out the books, you see, and they're based upon Rama and stories of Krishna, so we're trying to put the language as well as the culture.
Okay, and it's a course book. Wow.
Yeah, it starts from 4.5 right up.
Okay.
I laid them out, and at the end of the first day, they were all sold. It was quite interesting. 100,000 people came to that 4-day book fair. And that sort of woke up people. They said, this is amazing. We didn't realize there was that kind of interest.
Wonderful. Paul, thank you so much. We've learned a lot from you, not only about what inspires people, but also to say what happens if you follow your inspiration and your passion, and you're a living example of that. Wish you all the best in everything that you do. Thank you for coming on to our show.
And thank you.